Listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good afternoon and welcome to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts, Fred and Janet Cox, right here on Reality Radio 101. To contact us live right now, send us an email. Our email address is liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your hosts of the Liquid Green Health Show, Fred and Janet Cox.
And good afternoon, everyone. Yes, this is the month of October. We're in the 15th day of October. Things are moving along very quickly, not waiting on anyone. Good afternoon. This is the Liquid Green Health Show. My name is Fred Cox, and we are the Coxes, as a matter of fact. I have my co-host here with me. She's looking very, very bright this
My Canada Day
Folks,
colors.
you can't see us because we're not going live on video today, but she's looking sparkling red, right?
Actually, so are you. Red plaid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sun is shining on us today. All right.
Okay.
To our listeners across Canada, once again, good afternoon, as well as to the United States and around the world. Every Sunday at this time, we weren't here for a couple of Sundays. We weren't live.
Yes, right.
So it feels as though we're doing this thing all
Yeah.
over again. You know, the nervous jitters are here today, but we're gonna have fun because we're on air and we're
Because
giving you tips.
last week was Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and we had the Thanksgiving dinner,
Mhm.
and that was from 1 to 93.
Yeah.
The youngest was
yeah,
1,
yeah,
the
that was-
eldest
yeah,
was
yeah,
93 years
yeah,
old, and
so-
that was fantastic.
Good celebration.
Newton
Good
really
family
enjoyed
get
herself.
together. Yeah, she did.
Mhm.
It was good. So
Yeah.
anyway, folks, today, as usual, every Sunday we offer tips at this time in an edutainment format. It's
Yes.
designed to stimulate the mind and help bring us one step closer to living a healthier lifestyle. This show will be rebroadcast on YouTube as well as Spotify. So for those of you who want to hear, who would have, who have friends rather, that want to, you want to share it with them, feel free, go to YouTube or Spotify, and you can get us there. Welcome once again to the Liquid Green Health Show. And today we have a very interesting topic we're going to be talking about.
Yes. But it's still October. It's still continuation of Breast Cancer Month.
Yeah.
But we're taking a little break from the breast. But we're hoping
next week we're going to get back to the breast. Hopefully we have a doctor that's we're going to be talking to.
Yes, right.
Next
Okay.
week. And so
Yeah.
he will be elaborating a little bit more on, the that area and
Okay.
some of the conditions that can occur during your lifetime. He's going to be telling us a lot of
Breast
about
care.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Right. But this week we're talking about fasting, but specifically now there are many types of fasting, that you can incorporate into your diet. We're not going to be getting into details with all of them, but specifically we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting.
Or as people say, they call it time restricted fasting. Right?
Exactly.
Time restricted. So
Yeah.
it's all about fasting, feast and famine.
Feast and famine. But you're doing it in a controlled manner.
Correct.
And it has its benefits, it has its cons. But in my opinion, it has more benefits than it has cons, right?
Not just your opinion, scientifically.
Yeah.
It does, right?
So we're going to be talking about that. Now, this is more or less an eating pattern, right? More so than an eating plan.
Exactly.
It's an eating pattern.
And the reason you say that would be because eating plan, the diets, we have all the various from keto to Atkins to vegan, vegetarian,
all those micromanaged
plans, all of those. So it's not the plan.
It's not the micromanaged plan. This is real stuff. All right. Yeah. And what is shown is that 10% of Americans between the age of 18 to 80 have reported adhering to some sort of intermittent fasting. Right now, I want to believe that this is getting very, very popular.
I had no idea that it was so popular.
Yeah.
Even yesterday, you said you met someone.
Yesterday, I was at an event, and I was speaking to one of the organizers, and we just get into talking about eating habits, and I said, well, I do intermittent fasting. He said, you too? I said, yeah.
Didn't you tell him you're just a newbie?
I'm a newbie. I'm a newbie to this thing, right?
Now we've been doing it for what, a couple of weeks?
About 3 weeks now.
And honestly, I do believe it's one of the easier ways
it's the best
to
thing that I
try and change.
Yes. The best way, the best method I have found to controlling my eating. And the
and actually lose a couple of pounds.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't feel it. Right? No, for the first probably 3-4 days,
yes,
went into that withdrawal feeling where you gotta eat something. It's 9 o'clock, or you're at your computer at 10 o'clock and you want to get something to eat. I would do it, but that discipline has kicked in.
Right.
Well,
I did not have a problem.
No, you gorge, man. You gorge.
No, I did not have that problem.
You're greedy, man.
No. Let's talk fairly now. Let's talk sensibly. Yeah. What I did was, once you go to bed, then we just try to go to bed a little bit earlier than we normally would, right? And therefore, you have a few hours then. I know we're going to get into the details of how this works. But for me, in the morning, once I get up, and I go to the gym go for my swim at 9:30, 10:30, shower, whatever, come back home. It's 11.
Yeah.
And then I can start eating at 11:30. So 11:30, 12. Yeah. It was so easy to do. It's
easy. Honest to God.
Right. So I didn't have the challenge of you, who did not get up to go to the gym.
No, but because I don't feel like I have to go to the gym. Right. Right.
Okay.
But like I said, I have found it to be very, very easy to do, much easier than I thought.
Yes.
Had I been doing the juicing and all those things, which is time consuming. It's laborious to go and prepare juices, and all those things.
And you're eating
and you eat whatever you feel like eating.
Yes.
Right.
To some degree.
Yeah, but coming back to the conversation that I had with the gentleman, and he said to me, he's been in it for 3 months. And he lost 35 pounds.
Right.
That's amazing.
And what we have to realize is that people are not going to expect, it's not a quick fix. And there are different ways. Like if somebody's doing intermittent fasting to lose weight, when we get into the details of it, the hours they choose will be different than if they're just doing it to maintain. My girlfriend, Pam, I don't know if she's listening today. She's a frequent listener. But Pam, oh my goodness, I looked at her. And I said, okay, you can stop now. She has dropped so many pounds. I don't know, probably over 30, 40. I don't know.
How long has she been doing it?
For months.
Okay, so yes.
So I wonder if there's a point, we don't know this, if it actually body regulates and you actually stop losing. But that's something we'll have to investigate later.
Yeah. Okay. Now, but why is it so popular? Why is this thing such a popular? I don't know if it's going to become a fad, or it's going to become, something that's going to last.
It's a lifestyle change. It's not a fad. I think it's not a fad, because when you talk to people who are doing this, they've actually been doing it for a while.
Okay.
And because it works and it's easy to stick to, it's not just going to be one of those things that come and go. Okay. For goodness sakes, Jesus was one of the biggest components of intermittent fasting, right? Yep. He did 40 days.
40 days. And he survived. Survived, right?
For those who believe there's Jesus,
but
right?
Anyway. The thing is, fasting is nothing new to humankind. It's not new. It's been around for centuries. They've practiced it for many reasons, whether it's religious, whether it's some political statement they're making, which is a different type of, that's starvation, right? Or they're doing it for health reasons, be it just to, maintain body image, or for some other longevity, whatever. But it has been around for a while. So, what has gotten really popular, as I said earlier, is this intermittent way of eating. Yeah. Right.
So what is it actually? What is intermittent fasting?
Well, before I get to that, basically what intermittent fasting is controlling the way you eat, eating at certain times, right? controlling, setting out a specific block of time to not eat,
Right.
and then pick it up after a certain time. So it could be 8 and 12, 12 and 12, 6 and 14. It all depends on how you want to do it.
Yes.
If your work schedule doesn't allow you to do 12 and 12, you can do something, totally different. And what that does, it forces the body to control the way it disposes of food.
Yes,
right?
to burn fat. You're
Yes.
starving the body into
Yeah.
burning
And
fat.
yes,
And that's what the essence of it is.
right.
Right?
But
Okay.
can everyone, the question is, can everyone do this?
Everyone can do it, but is
But
it
it's
good
not
for everyone?
good for everyone.
Right.
It's
right.
not good for everyone. So, if you have a condition, a medical condition, we're not recommending that you do this. You don't skip your meals, follow doctor's instructions. If you're pregnant and you're breastfeeding, we don't recommend it,
Right.
folks.
Or
If you
kids,
have,
kids don't need to do
you
that.
don't need to. If you have kidney stones
Yeah.
or, acid reflux, or you have diabetes or any kind of medical condition that you're experiencing, we're not recommending it. And
Well,
folks, we also
I would
no, hold your thoughts, hold your
Okay.
thoughts, hold your thoughts. Before we get into the details, I have to put out a caveat. We're not doctors,
correct.
right? We're just passing on information that we have
we've
researched,
gleaned, yeah.
and we're passing it on to our listeners. So whatever you hear, be cautious of how you practice it. All right. Yeah. What
But
do you want to say?
from what I have learned is that for people with Crohn's and different diseases, diabetes,
IBS too.
yes, everything. It's not that they shouldn't do it, because there definitely is a benefit. That's one of the benefits, that people with these ailments will see improvements.
Okay.
Blood pressure, diabetes, pre-diabetic.
And that's not theoretical.
Right. These are studies that have been done that proves that intermittent fasting.
The numbers are in, the studies are in.
That's
and
right.
It has been proven that this type of practice,
will work.
eating practice,
So when you're
will
saying
work.
don't do it, it's not that they shouldn't do it, but they should be supervised,
Or
at least get checked from your doctor to make sure that it won't impact. And the only reason it will impact is because when people are on some of these conditions, some of these diseases, those risk factors, some of them are taking medication. Some medication needs food.
Yes.
Some
true.
needs without food.
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest reasons that you need to make sure that it doesn't become deleterious to you, the intermittent fasting, and that it doesn't change your program. But once you're being, under the supervision of your doctor, it should be actually a benefit.
Okay. Now, this lifestyle, I'm not gonna call it a fad, because like you said, I believe it's one of the better formats of food regulating, right? It is beginning to put a spin on the health and wellness industry. Because over the years they've been telling us things like to do things like juice cleanse, take the Atkins diet, right, which has reinvented itself. The Atkins diet has reinvented itself now as the ketone, right?
Keto diet.
The low sodium and all those fancy low fat and all kinds of stuff. This particular lifestyle has put a wedge into their progress, the health and wellness industry. So now they're in a spin trying to figure out what else they can tell us to do, because honestly, over the years, they have confused us and they put all kinds of stuff out there that we should follow.
There is something that they call SOS. What does SOS usually stand for?
Save our souls.
Save our souls. It's a cry for help.
Yeah.
And for what it actually is in the whole scheme of the food industry, SOS is the things that are the bad chemicals. Then it's salt, oil, and sugar.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the SOS that, as you say, it's
save us from these things.
Yeah. So if you can moderate your salt, get rid of those processed oils that we talked about so many times, and definitely eliminate most of the sugars, the processed sugars, then we're coming into doing better. And that is what the wellness industry is fearful of. Right. That we're figuring it out.
You're beginning to figure it out, because a lot of the stuff that they recommend, recommend to do, for the lack of a better term, can have some adverse effects
Yes.
on our health. Now, are there any risks with intermittent fasting? Now, before I get into the risk, how is it done? How do we really get into the intermittent? This is what I do.
Yes. Okay.
I have an eating window between 11 to 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Sometimes I go to 8, right? But that's my eating window.
So that
and
means
I can eat, in my opinion, I can eat anything.
So the restricted feeding,
Yeah.
as we say, just another word, you have 60, what they've said basically, for if you want to lose some weight, and it's easy to do, the most common time is 16 hours of fasting when you're not eating.
Yeah.
And then what is it, 8?
Yeah.
16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of feeding or
feeding.
of eating.
But not everyone could do 16
Not everybody
hours.
can do that,
Yeah.
but that they say that's one of the most popular time frames.
But if it,
right?
for some people, they probably might only be able to do 6 hours.
Like the warrior diets, the warriors,
Mm.
these are the ones that do sometimes once a day. They just eat one meal a day,
Yeah.
or they eat just 2 hours a day,
Yeah.
or the warrior diet can go up to 4 hours a day.
But
And for the rest of the time, you're fasting.
I have found there are times when I eat one meal a day.
Yes.
And I find that it takes me, like, I'm good. Now, when I do that, however, because I don't do it often, I get to that withdrawal period late at night. So it's really a discipline.
Everything is
thing
about
has to
discipline.
kick in then.
Yeah.
Right? That discipline has to kick in, and I have to tell myself, no, I'm not hungry, so I'll drink water.
And that's what we should do, which brings us to like the water fast.
Yes.
Because the intermittent fasting is like the beginning. 12 hours, that's easy, right? Well, for most people. But the 16-8 is a little bit more difficult. And then when you're only going like 6 hours, within 6 hours, it becomes worse. And that gentleman we met about 2 months ago, he was only eating 4 hours. Yeah. And he said he was this big and he had lost so much weight. But then you talk about eating one meal a day. Some people the idea is to go to fast for a whole day. Yeah. Just drink water.
I tried it for 2 days.
2 days or maximum 3 days on your own. It's amazing the benefits that you can reap by just doing.
But listen, I tried it for 2 days. 2 days.
Yeah.
And I almost died. Right?
Yes.
Because I'm not accustomed doing no 2-day fast.
But you know what?
But I think I can do it comfortable now that I've tried it once. Because at the end of 2 days, by 6, 7 o'clock, I was starving.
But guess what? The body is so amazing. If you were able to persevere and go 3 days, 4 days, it gets easier.
Yes, I'm going to try it.
It's like driving a long distance. What's the toughest part?
2 hours.
The first 2 hours, you're dying to sleep, right? Yeah. And then after that, you can drive 16 hours and the body's just tuned into that.
I'm going to try a 3-day thing and see what happens. I'm not accustomed doing it. But
first do a month of intermittent fasting. Yeah. And then you work up to that.
But I'm almost at a month of doing that. Well, right? But it's just on the weekends, I can splurge. Now, talking about splurging, what do people eat during that eating period, that block eating? Now, I say I can eat anything, but with caution, right? I'm not going to splurge on junk. I'm going to reduce the processed foods is what you want to reduce.
Exactly. So as much as possible. You really need to just eat a healthy
clean
diet, clean food,
right?
And that is different for some people, because you and I have decided that we're not going to be vegan, right? Because but then we have also decided that you don't need to pig out and eat meat every day,
right?
So it's that balance of everything good, in moderation.
Yes. Now I'm not gonna
early and stop eating.
Right. There have been times when I tell people, look, you got to stop eating bread. But I wouldn't say that again, right? Choose the type of bread that you're eating, right? That's the key. Choose the type of bread, and you don't have to pig out on carbs,
Right.
Right.
Well, it depends on the carbs, right? Because you have the simple carbs.
Mhm.
That's the ones that are high sugar content, the junk food.
Right.
Like I had cheesecake yesterday because it's the weekend.
What else did you have yesterday,
And
Janet? Tell the truth. You didn't only have
I'm terrible. I
you
had
had
a slice of
pizza.
cheesecake. I had
Yeah.
2 slices pizza.
Yeah.
This is during the course of a day.
Yeah.
And I had about 6 Smarties,
Mhm.
which was
Junk,
really
junk,
bad.
junk.
Yep. And what else did I have bad? I forget.
But you know
But
what? There's
I did
nothing
not have
wrong.
bread.
There's nothing wrong in doing that occasionally, right?
Right. Occasionally. Right?
Occasionally you
Yeah.
can splurge. Like I love my sweet. I have a sweet tooth.
And you have been good. No cookies.
No,
folks. No,
but I
no
still
cookies.
crave. I still crave for a cookie every once in a while. But there's nothing wrong in eating something that you have not eaten for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Because to be honest, processed foods taste good.
Because they put
They put a
something
lot
in
of stuff
it.
in it
Yes.
to trigger that dopamine.
Dopamine. Yes, that's
Right.
exactly right. If I can say something about that, the whole idea about there is a term for it. Oh my goodness, I forget now. It's called excess something. It's like excess dietary condition. Like we're just so programmed to eat in more than we really need to eat.
Yes.
Right. And that, remember our show, Why Do We Get Fat?
Yeah,
remember that
because
show?
you don't keep your mouth closed.
And you said that
Keep
I'm
your mouth
beginning to
closed.
agree with you.
Ha, ha, ha.
Keep your mouth closed for most of the day
Yes.
and eat better. But because of what, I go back to my old thing, because of what is being put in the food,
addictive ingredients.
right? This sugary stuff,
Yeah.
we are now being overstimulated
Yes.
to get that dopamine effect.
Mhm.
And that's why when you eat the sugar and the cheesecake and the Smarties and those things, what happens? You get up and you want a piece more.
Yeah, it
Because
creates
those microbiome is now programmed.
yes.
That's
We
what
gotta
it
get
wants.
more. We
It
gotta
wants
have more. We gotta
That's
have
right.
more. And that's what happened. Now, are there risks? We're talking about so far we've talked about the good parts of intermittent diet,
Yeah.
right? Are there any risks associated with this?
I would think, what did the research say?
Now,
Definitely it depends.
you can become preoccupied with food, because what happens after you've starved yourself for that long period of time, when the time comes to eat, there's a level of excitement, there's a hunger that is created in the body by a hormone that's called ghrelin, right?
Right.
Ghrelin, it's almost sound like gremlin. They're there and they're ready to gobble up everything that you put in. So the longer you starve yourself is the more that hormone is produced, and it influences the hunger. Okay. Right. So when you have high levels of ghrelin in the body, it can cause you to overeat.
Yes.
So you're defeating the purpose of what you're really doing, the intermittent fasting.
Can I explain it? This is how I understand it in the simplest possible way.
Yeah.
This is how I understand it. And I'll just share that with you and with our listening audience. When we eat food, right? During a meal, what exactly happens? We're looking for energy. Where does that energy come from? It comes from carbohydrates, which are broken down into sugar, into glucose mainly, but then there's other sugars as well, right? So what happens is that this glucose has to be absorbed. It's absorbed through the intestinal wall, and it enters our bloodstream, and then it's transported to all the organs in the body, right? The muscles, etc. And that is what's used as energy. But guess what? Sometimes there is always excess, right? There's excess glucose. And what happens to the excess glucose is that it's stored in the liver. So when we talk about fatty liver disease,
so you get it.
It's an excess of fat that's being of glucose that's being sugar that's being stored, right? And it's also being stored in what's called the adipose tissue in the form of something called glycogen or fat.
You sound like a doctor.
Glycogen and fat.
You sound like a doctor.
Well, I have been. This topic fascinates me, and it's working for me. So when we're fasting, what happens is that this is all the intermittent fasting. This is why it's good, because when you're fasting, the liver now, instead of just taking the fats from the sugar, from the food you're consuming at the moment,
Goes back
they
to where the
goes
fat
to the
is stored.
storage
Okay,
sector,
it goes
right?
to the
And
warehouse.
the liver converts that glycogen back into glucose, and that's used up. So when they talk about fat, the bad fat, and you and I talk about this all the time, the bad fat is a visceral fat. And where does that accumulate?
In your
Around the
tummy, man.
gut,
For men, it's around the gut.
right?
You know, for
And
women, it's around the hips.
the guts
Yeah.
seem to be the biggest problem, right?
Yeah.
And then we talk about brown fat.
Yeah.
Do you remember brown fat?
Yeah, that's a good fat.
That's the one I tell you.
You
increase
tell me
your
that you have a
brown
lot of
fat.
brown fat.
I have good brown fat because doing polar dips and cold showers, these are some of the things that increase your supply of brown fat, which is the good fat.
Yeah.
Right? So there's so many benefits. The whole idea, how do you get your energy? All right, go ahead.
Okay. Now, that's a pretty good, in-depth explanation,
Right.
doctor.
So it's all
Dr.
about
Cox.
the insulin, right? Because the insulin is important. It's the hormone, and that is what drives glucose into our cells.
Right, but insulin, the more we eat is the more we spike our insulin.
Thank you very much.
Right.
So if you keep eating,
Right.
then their insulin,
So this whole
the level's
thing,
been running high, and when you eat less,
yeah,
it actually gives the rest periods is when the work is going to be done.
right.
To
And if the
use up
body,
that
right, and if the body's not
Mhm.
getting enough rest, then it can't burn that fat. Right. So this whole thing
Mhm.
about eating, I've heard it over and over and over,
Mhm.
3 meals a day,
Yeah.
or some people say eat constantly small
Yeah.
portions during the day.
That used to be popular.
It used to be popular, but it's nonsense, because that's why you have so many obese people around.
Yeah. And the
Because
doctors,
you're not giving the body a chance
right,
to rest,
exactly.
right? And
Because the old way of thinking was calories.
mhm.
Calories in. I remember asking my doctor, why am I finding it so difficult? This was years back to lose. This was after pregnancy, to lose some of that weight. He says, don't eat more than, like, exercise to burn off what you have eaten. So
Right.
calories in, calories out.
Okay.
And what they're coming to realize that that's not necessarily true, because somebody can eat 1,000 calories in one body, and the other person can eat 1,000 calories, same idea, in another body. But because of the hormones and how things work,
Yeah.
they're going to digest it differently. So it's lots more to what the original thought was.
You know what's another thing I've noticed
Mhm.
in the last week or so? Remember, you always used to complain about acid reflux,
Yes.
right?
Start going away.
And since I've started this intermittent fasting,
Mhm.
I don't experience it any longer. Okay, so
Right.
that's one of the benefits that I have noticed. Also, I feel a little lighter.
Well, you've definitely dropped
I
some
do
pounds,
feel a
right?
little light, because I used to feel it in my ankles. The ankles hurt when you walk.
You were fat.
No, I wasn't fat. I was just
You were fat.
heavier.
You had a big
I
gut.
was heavier. I was heavier. Don't tell the audience that I
But
was fat. I was heavier.
but I'm not getting into body shaming. I have to be very careful. Don't want to be canceled. My son always says you have to be careful what you say, right? But really,
Though we've noticed
folks,
a big difference with Kofi
mhm.
and his eating habits.
I still think
And
he eats too late at night.
he's not into the intermittent thing.
No.
But he doesn't eat as often.
Right. And he doesn't eat before 12.
No.
So
No, that's good.
he's been doing intermittent fasting for years without even
Without
understanding
realizing,
what it is. And that's why, even though he eats so much, that he has not had the problem of gaining the weight.
Right. And he doesn't
Right?
eat a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
Right?
We're talking your business, Kofi.
Yeah. And so he's doing pretty good. Pretty good. What else you want to talk about?
We were talking about some of the benefits. So apart from just losing weight, right? Your blood pressure goes down.
Oh.
It helps with diabetes. Even inflammation on your body goes down.
Now, you were telling me something about inflammation. You remember?
Well, we know that
intermittent fasting, how it really affects the the inflammation that is stored in the body. You remember you were saying something about that?
Yeah, well, we just know that inflammation is bad.
Excess inflammation is not
Yes,
good.
but okay, what we were talking about with the inflammation was just how fantastic the engineering, whoever created us,
Yeah,
whatever designed the system
it's an
called
amazing
the
design.
human body,
It's amazing
there has
design.
been nothing, no AI so far
No.
has come close to
No
the
drug,
engineering
nothing.
that has gone into it.
Yeah,
And what they say is that for most of the maladies, for most of the diseases that we have, the body can take care of it during fasting.
Yep.
And a lot of that happens, it's called autophagy, and that happens during sleep.
okay.
Right? That's why we need to get those long hours of fasting when the body is breaking down. Because during sleep, it's as if you're taking your car to the mechanic, to the garage.
And that's basically the process of autophagy.
Yes, and those cells are breaking down and they're being removed from the body, they're being cast out.
Repair and discard.
And the body's repairing
Repair and
itself.
discard.
So even things like COVID
Yes.
and diabetes.
And the long COVID that people are suffering from. This is
even things like your brain, like inflammation in the brain, that causes things like dementia and Parkinson's. All of these apparently can be addressed if you start long enough and let the body do what it knows what to do best. And
but you
that
see,
comes
the
through
problem
fasting.
with that's a good analogy. The problem with that
It
is
heals itself.
is the level of fear that the average individual experiences out of ignorance.
Okay.
Because something happens to you, you get fearful, you run to the doctor, not understanding how the body operates. You depend on the doctor's instructions as to how to repair, or how to repair that malady that you would be experiencing. In many cases, it is not a correct diagnosis, or not a correct method of curing the situation,
because doctors are not trained, and this is not
Nutrition.
We're not dissing doctors,
Yeah.
but everybody knows, even 5-year-old knows now, because we've heard it so often. It's changing, but it's not changed sufficiently. They do not spend enough time on nutrition.
No.
And what the experts say is that nutrition, proper nutrition, where food is your medicine, is actually better than the best medicines that have been created.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's the 3 words, like there's a 3-word phrase in real estate: location, location, location.
Yes. Food.
For health, it's nutrition, nutrition, nutrition.
Yes.
And we have to understand that. That is what the body needs. You give the body the proper nutrition, it will heal itself. Because as you said earlier, it's a remarkable creation by who or whatever that did it. That science, that wisdom that went into creating us is, it's second to none.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter if you're hypertensive, if you're obese, if you have atherosclerosis, I can never say that word, dementia, cancer, all of those things can be addressed.
Let me get to some email. Folks, you're listening to the Liquid Green Health Show. We are the Coxes. And today we're talking about, if you're just joining us, and you want to know what it is we're talking about, obviously we're talking about food, and we're talking about the method in which we take food into our body. It's called fasting. But specifically, we're talking about intermittent fasting, the benefits, the pros and cons of it all.
Or time restricted
eating. And you're listening to us on Reality Radio 101. This is the Liquid Green Health Show. So I'm going to get to some email, and then we'll get back to our main topic today. And the first one I want to go to, there's one that came in during the week. This is a funny one. We still have people writing in with these funny quips. And here's one from Monica, and she says, "Hey, is Janet deep sea fishing yet?" I don't know, Monica, but
since the polar dip,
yeah.
But then since the skydiving, oh my goodness,
even getting more.
What did one person say? Am I ready to? What's my next thing? Going over
the Niagara Falls
in a barrel. Am I ready to do? And what did you say? Don't give her any more ideas.
Don't give her any more ideas, folks. She may just latch on to those ideas. Here's another one from during the week. And where is it? I saw it just. Oh, this is from Sue.
Huh.
Fasting.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, right?
No, it's really not
but
for
it
everybody.
is for everybody, but dependent. We talked about that.
We talked, yes.
Okay.
And then here's one from Dawn. Oh, no, this is from Gail. Let's go to Gail first.
Okay.
And Gail says, hello to Fred and Janet. Love your website and your radio show. Good job. Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that, Gail. Here's one from Dawn. You want to read that?
Okay. Fasting, Coxes, from all food or just bad food? Sweets, sugars, etc. Will be interesting to hear your take on the matter tomorrow then. So what it is, yes, you're actually fasting from all food.
Yes.
For a period of time. You're going to take a break from the bad foods forever, or as much as possible.
Yes.
But you definitely want to just stop eating, period.
Yeah.
And just drink tea, black coffee, water.
And why
during
you
those
recommend
periods of because if it has no sugar, then you're not really fasting. It's not affecting your glucose level, right? Yeah. So,
but the main reason that you want that block of time, you want the body to rest so it can do its work.
Yeah. Burn fat.
Burn fat. That's what you get rid of all this stuff that you've been putting into the body. And if you don't give the body a chance to rest, just think of yourself. You know, you're working all day and you're not getting a break.
Right.
You get tired. You won't like it. You'll complain that I'm not getting a break. And when you do get that break, how relaxed you feel. Yep. So it's the same thing with the system. Yep. Okay, same thing. Here's one from Kelly, and Kelly says, before I fast, and there's an image of Kelly, getting down on a big
pint of beer.
That's more than a pint, man. That's a big
2 pints.
Yeah, that's a big 2-liter jug of beer. Okay, continue. Here's Bill. People are, they're having fun today. This one Bill sent us, what's that? An image? Is that chicken or turkey?
Chicken breast.
Chicken
Lots
breast.
of them.
We hope that you did have a fantastic Thanksgiving.
And we did. It was fun.
Yeah,
it was really fun. Good.
Yeah, very, very well.
And there's a pun on the word breast. He's showing chicken breast, but this is also breast cancer month, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where he was going with that.
You want to read that? This is from Edward.
Edward said, just me again. And thank you so much, Edward. You are a frequent listener, and we love to get these emails from you. So you say fasting is the biggest thing going on right now, and thank heavens it is, because it's working. A lot of nutritionists and doctors recommend it. It is a way to cleanse the body and lose weight. Thanks for the topic. And you're bang on. I think we mentioned all of that. Bang on.
Bang on.
The doctors are
they're
beginning
getting
to
in
understand
line. They're getting in line.
How important the nutrition is.
Right. And Andrew says, Cox's fasting is fine. Just check with your doctor, especially with diabetes. You need to watch your blood sugar. And we did mention that, right?
Yes.
That is so true.
You need to know your levels.
Yeah.
Right.
This is one from someone that says, give the name as all other. So all other says, when fasting, do you mean hours or days?
Well, actually, it is both, because you can fast for, as we say, intermittent periods, but you also have the type of fast where you're fasting days. So you skip a day.
Yes.
You fast one day. That's called alternate day fasting.
Yeah.
So you eat one day, you don't eat the next day. Yeah. Eat the next day, don't eat the next day.
And there's also one that's called the 5-2 days. Yeah. Where you fast for 5 days and then you eat. But folks, when you do that, please do not fall into this overeating thing, because I've seen, where people are fasting. You remember, I'm not going to call name or group or anything. When we were in Vancouver, we went to this restaurant, and it was people ended their fasting then.
Oh, right.
And they were eating, and I saw some people's plates. I saw some people's plates, and I'm saying, no wonder they do it, because they're putting themselves through that, that torture, right? Here's one from Nigel, and Nigel says, fasting is good for most people. Just check with your healthcare professional, as Fred says, and do not jump out of an airplane, Janet. That's another way of fasting.
Ken, I'm sorry. If you ever gave me a call, by the time we're done with you, just like Frederick, because of those fantastic guys in Cayuga,
Yeah.
it is so safe and so much fun. You would be doing it.
You know,
You would be
I
doing
agree with you because after watching the procedure,
Mhm.
I do feel a lot more comfortable now that I would risk it. You know,
Yeah.
they were extremely
Yes,
good
yes, yes.
at explaining things and
Yeah.
the safety procedures that they put through. Here's one from Adam, and Adam says, "Hello, Janet and Fred Cox. Fasting is also a way to save a little bit of money on food and groceries. Maybe we should all be doing it, right?"
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
100%.
I agree. When you look at the cost of food today,
Yeah.
that will force people to get into
Yeah.
intermittent
So
fasting or
you're
day
actually
fasting.
saving money and you're doing yourself a favor. Because let's say you reach the point when you can go to one meal a day.
Mhm.
The benefits that that presents to the body is fantastic. And the benefits
To
in
your
your
pocketbook.
pocketbook is like amazing.
Yeah.
So no complaints
No
there,
complaints at all.
100%.
No complaints.
And
This is the last one I'm going to read. Here's
Mhm.
one from Monique,
Mhm.
and Monique says, "What a coincidence. I was just reading online about fasting. This show reinforced my interest in this topic. Thank you for the information. Be well."
Okay, Monique, join us. We're doing it ourselves right now, like so
Yeah.
many other friends we have. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Oh, and
that's okay.
this one, yeah. You know, I can tell you from the little experience that I've had in a short period of
Yep.
time, I do feel a lot better.
Mhm.
I just got to go to the gym now. Right.
Go back. You
Yeah,
were going.
go
You need
back
to
to
go
the gym.
back.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that period of laziness have crept over me, and so anyway, I'm gonna flush it out.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta get rid of those bad genes of laziness.
Now, to get back to the fasting and why we think it's relatively easy, we discussed this where we say the body, once you're finished eating,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that you immediately start in your fasting period.
No, because it takes a while.
Exactly.
That food in there has to
Be digested.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to go before your last meal before going to bed should be
2 to 3 hours prior.
the perfect plan is for you to not eat 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep.
I remember when I was driving truck,
Mhm.
pulling,
Yep.
long distance driving truck. That is something that is very difficult for a truck driver to do.
Right.
Because when you have this time limit that you have to get to a location to unload your
Yeah.
stuff, pick up and come back, you stop at these truck stops and you get something to eat. In many cases, you eat a lot of food.
And then
And
you're
then-
sitting there and
Yeah.
driving, so you're not
No, but
exercising.
yeah, but let's say it's time for you to rest because there are regulations. You have to take
Okay.
X amount of hours to sleep. You eat, and then what do? You go at the back of the truck in the cab and you sleep because you're tired. You want to get your rest and your energy back so you can drive for another 4 or 5 hours. So that is something that people that are doing that kind of, that kind of work, they face a challenge in controlling their eating habits.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why we see so many truck drivers
Big
with
tummies.
a big stomach.
I'm lucky it never
And
happened
it's
to.
hard because you never did it long enough.
Yeah. Well, not only that, there was one particular stop where they had exercise facilities,
Okay.
and I would use it.
Yeah. This gastric emptying is so important because if you don't get a chance to really empty those bowels as the food breaks down, then that's when you're going to get the buildup of that fat around the tummy, right?
Yeah. Now there are other things. We're talking about the fat burning. We talk about. Did we mention about the most popular eating patterns?
Yeah.
For
Yes, we
intermittent
did.
fasting,
We did.
the time restricted eating, the
Yes,
5 and
the
2.
8 hour,
Right.
eating 8 hours and fasting for
Eat and stop.
16.
You mentioned the warrior diet, which
Yes.
is among the most, that was the first popular diets.
Right.
They include a form of intermittent fasting.
What we have not talked about is the whole thing that we spent a whole show on with the circadian rhythm.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
You
as
want to
we
explain
know,
that?
as we know, no, I'll probably let you, but what I understand about the circadian rhythm is that we all go through, we talk about the light and the dark. Our body goes through this 24-hour cycle.
Yes.
And it's natural.
It is a natural
And
cycle.
when those cycles are broken for any reason, that's what throws the hormones, the genes in the body to be out of sync.
Yeah. So it's a behavioral change that happens in the body over that 24-hour cycle. With it includes physical and both mental.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, it's the natural process that responds primarily to light and dark. That's why a lot of shift workers, when they come off shift, if they're working all night and they come home, they can't sleep if the place is well lit. And some people have to put the blinders on or close the shades so sunlight don't come in.
And they also have a problem. Shift workers, so bad. But what can you do, right? They also have a problem with the eating, with doing intermittent fasting. For sleep workers for shift workers is also a challenge, right?
Yeah. Now that circadian rhythm that we're talking about is controlled by what a lot of people call the third eye. Or the pineal gland.
Correct.
Right. Very, very important. And a lot of people are not aware of that. If you're looking at it from a spiritual perspective, it plays a lot of importance. It is also, it's a kind of an organ, right? And science is now beginning
deep inside
the brain. Science is now beginning to do a lot of research on that, right? It's considered to be a very powerful but mysterious organ. All right. And it's the last of the endocrine glands that has been discovered by science. Right. And again, it has a lot of spiritual significance. And if you're in that realm, you will understand it a lot better than science. You'll have a greater understanding of it when science starts to interpret what they think about it, right? The pineal gland is called the third eye, as I said. When looked from a spiritual perspective, it serves a connection between the physical and the spiritual worlds. Right? That is your connection to the God force, the God energy, the universe, whatever it is.
So what does it have to do with intermittent fasting? How do we tie that in?
It is responsible for the production and secretion of melatonin.
The sleep. That's what makes me sleep.
That's what makes you sleep, right? That hormone, it helps it helps to regulate the sleep patterns. And that's why it messes you up when you don't get a lot of sleep. Whether you're a shift worker or you're just fooling around, partying all day, you don't sleep. So the interruption of the flow of information from light sensing neurons to the pineal gland can result in, lack of sleep, insomnia.
It also, one of the big things that we have not even addressed, it actually is responsible for the secretion of your sex hormones.
Yes.
So
estrogens and progesterone and stuff like that. Testosterone.
Testosterone. And for women, we have all three.
Right.
It's and just in different amounts, right?
Right. And that, that is produced from the pituitary glands, right? It also includes an hormone. It is responsible for triggering the process in females, ovulation, right?
Right. And that's why we talk about all this, but it ties back into the intermittent fasting, because when we are able to keep the rhythms, the natural rhythms of the body flowing, everything begins to work in harmony.
Yes.
When we're out of sync, and when we're eating bad and not getting enough sleep and not getting enough exercise and eating all the processed foods, that is what causes the hormone imbalances in the body, the toxins that we talk about, right? All of that causes the hormone imbalance. And that is what affects birth rate, fertility rate, how the eggs work, the testosterone. It just throws off so many of the things within the body.
But you know what's fascinating about this topic? You cannot discuss holistic health without touching on the spiritual aspects of it.
That's
because
true.
Look at the pineal gland. Scientists are now beginning to study it. They're now beginning to try to understand it. people in the spiritual realm have been talking about this for centuries, right? And so you can't discuss holistic health and healing without touching on that aspect
Right.
of
That's
it.
right.
Right. Now you were talking about brown fat, and you were talking.
Yeah, I said brown
said
fat
how
is
much
the
brown-
healthiest type of fat
Yeah.
because it helps to reduce the subcutaneous belly fat.
So no, but
Right?
okay. Does intermittent fasting help to produce more brown fat? Do you know?
I would think so.
All right.
Does it?
I don't know.
I know what helps
Yeah.
by not eating some of the junk that we eat. And as I mentioned previously, the hot and cold, the cold,
I don't. I
exercise.
don't know about the
of
hot and
things.
cold. I don't know about the hot
Right.
and cold bath that you take all the time. If that helps with any brown fat, I
Mhm.
don't know.
I don't know, man. I know food. For example, when we eat the good stuff like
Yeah.
avocados, the natural fats, the nuts,
Hmm.
seeds in our body, this also helps to create the good fats. But what do you have? What did you find out about brown fat?
Well, I found out that brown fat, which is also called adipose tissue, it helps to maintain your body temperature. So maybe you're right. The cold, hot and cold thing,
Right.
if you have more brown fat, you could withstand the change of temperatures.
So I wonder, that is probably what the bears, the animals are going to hibernation.
Yes, they have
That's
a
why
lot
they
of
have
brown
a
fat.
lot of that, so that they can use those reserves
Okay.
when they're sleeping, when they're in hibernation, correct?
And right. And so we have brown fat and we have white fat, right?
What about red fat?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
okay,
about the red
yeah.
fat. Now, white fat is made of big droplets of lipids or fatty acids,
Right.
right? Cells in brown fat are packed with mitochondria. That's why it's good. That's why it is bad. I mean, good for you, right? And mitochondria, as we know, is rich in iron, which gives brown fat its color.
Okay.
So the iron gives it that dark coloration, right? They are the heart of your cells, and they take in nutrients like sugar and white fat, and they break it down to make energy. So that's the purpose of having a lot of brown fat in the body. It stores energy in a smaller space than white fat does. Right? Now, I don't know where in the body it is. I am not a doctor, so I couldn't tell you, but I'm certain it's not in your tummy, because that area has a lot of fat, and it's not brown fat.
One of the research statistics said, if you were to expose yourself to cold exposure 3 to 4 times per week for 2 to 3 minutes per session.
Yeah.
That actually increases brown fat.
Are you talking about the type of cold water that
And
we get?
so does time restricted feeding.
I'm not.
So it has the same effect.
The same effect as intermittent feeding.
So the time restricted feeding, the intermittent feeding,
Yeah.
it actually helps you to produce more brown fat.
Okay.
Right? And that is science. That is not a guess.
That's not Dr. Cox saying. That's
Yes.
Sounds interesting. So maybe I should really stay on this intermittent fasting a little longer to get more brown fat.
People do this as a lifestyle change.
That's it. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is not a fad.
No.
Right?
That's how we started the show, by saying it's
this should be a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And there are lots of people out there who are listening, I am certain, have some issues with weight.
Yes.
This is a show that you need to pay attention to without taking all the drugs and medications that you probably are thinking of taking. Even some of the diet shakes and stuff that you're taking.
The extra protein.
The extra sugar that you put in, because a lot of shakes is loaded with sugar. Right. Different types of sweeteners. It doesn't matter what it is, it's sugar. It's sweet. If you start to start off on a small scale,
shorter window,
yeah,
like a longer window,
right? Yeah. If you start doing the intermittent fasting, I guarantee you're going to feel a lot better.
Now, there's one really important issue. It depends on why you're doing it. I'm doing it because I'd love to drop 10 pounds. Because if I'm 8 to 10 pounds less, every single dress in my cupboard will fit again.
You just do it because you want to show off.
I don't throw out my old clothes because I love them. Classic clothes that they don't go out of style.
Yeah.
So the jacket I have on is actually, this was actually a gift from a friend.
Yeah, it looks good.
And she said she's had it over 25 years and it just doesn't fit anymore.
You look like a red coat.
It's brand new, right? Thank you, Barbara.
Look like a red coat.
The thing is, if you're able to maintain,
yes,
then then the intermittent fasting is going to work for you for as long as possible, right?
No,
no, don't let me just finish my thought. My thought was, if you're a bodybuilder and you want to build muscle,
okay,
you're going to have to do it differently, because now you're going to have to increase your intake of carbs. Yeah, carbs. Like if there's a big marathon. I think Brianne did a marathon today. And she's vegan, but I'm sure today she had to take in a lot of extra.
Yes, because the muscles need the carb, the energy. Yeah, you need that energy to do it.
Yeah, so if you're a bodybuilder, things are going to be different. You're not going to do an intermittent fast the way somebody is going to do it who want to lose weight, because then you want to put on and build those muscles, right? Yeah.
So those are some of the benefits.
Now, how do you break the fast? Like once you're in, and you're doing it.
Yes.
How do you actually, what constitutes
well, you should not
a safe way of getting out,
right? A safe way of getting out. Once you're awake and you get out of bed and you go through the rituals of freshening up yourself and stuff like that, you should avoid eating at least for the first hour or two.
Yes.
Avoid putting anything in your stomach.
From the time you wake up.
From the time you wake up.
Right.
Why? Because the body, even though you're up physically or mentally, the body still takes a while to get back into that mode where it has to do the work for the day.
Into the rhythm.
Yeah. The same thing as when you're going to bed at night. Try to avoid, and I think we mentioned this earlier,
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours prior to going to bed. Do not stuff your tummy with anything, because once the body lies down, once the body lies down, it goes into a rest period. And so you have to be cognizant of that. It's not going to do the work to digest the food, right? Now, some of the other benefits of intermittent fasting, of course, you have fat loss, improve,
liver function.
Improve liver function, decrease inflammation. We talked about that. It improves blood pressure.
The pancreas all the organs will function more efficiently.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gain brown fat.
Yeah.
It increases your mental health, right? Study has shown that it helps to slow down dementia. Yeah. Right. Then there's a healing process as well. It supposed to increase your lifespan. Now I question that, because I have my own views on lifespan.
No, well, it's lifespan and it's health span. So it might not increase your lifespan because some of that is so genetically mixed.
Yeah.
And who knows, you're going to have a car accident or whatever.
Right.
But once you're alive, it will improve your health span. That means living well when you're alive.
Right.
Because you can have a long lifespan and you're not healthy.
You're not healthy.
So what's the point of that, right?
And we know some people who are like that. Cognition is improved. It reduces it improves your genome and epigenome. That is something else we can talk about a lot of time. Your digestion is even better. We talk about blood pressure. And some of the things that you shouldn't eat. Get rid of the junk food, folks. Right. Complex carbs like potatoes, yams, grains, and stuff like that. Protein.
That's better for you than the simple sugars, right?
Yeah, these are things that rather the simple sugars, like junk food, right? You need to get rid of complex carbs, protein, right? Good fats. They have the lowest, and you know what? I like the fat and meat.
Yes, yeah. Like a good ribeye with the fat is actually not bad for you.
Fat in
as long as you're not having it every week or every month.
Now we're quickly out of time here, so all I'm going to say, folks, pay attention to what we have said today, and if you have a need to lose weight, eat better, control what you're eating, intermittent fasting is the better way to go.
Because if I were to summarize it, what do we have? Wow, I can't even want enough time to summarize.
You can't summarize it right now. Folks, we are out of time. There's so much more that we wanted to talk about, but as usual,
that would be my big thing.
Yeah, cut down on the sugar, make sure you get your rest, and choose what you eat is very important. So with that, we're going to end today's show. Sadly, we have to go. But just remember that good health is central to human happiness and well-being. It contributes significantly to prosperity and wealth and even economic progress. And as healthy individuals, we can be more productive and even live a little bit longer. So until next Sunday, same time, same place, this is the Coxes saying, let's stay healthy on Reality Radio 101.
Thank you for listening to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts, Fred and Janet Cox, right here on Reality Radio 101.